think there was a big question about what the court would do in both of these cases. The DOMA decision is huge. It doesn't sort of end the national debate about the status of marriage and the Constitution, either kind of the political debate or the legal debate, but it's a really important sort of step, I think, on the path to full equality.
The justices had a lot of ways they could have struck down DOMA, and there was a lot of speculation about which one they would choose. What did they do today?
Section 3 of DOMA is dead today. So the other part of DOMA, the part of DOMA that allows states that don't permit same-sex marriage to continue not to recognize valid same-sex marriages performed in other states, remains good law. But Section 3 of DOMA, the part of DOMA that, as Justice Kennedy says, writes inequality into the United States Code, that is, requires every provision of federal law that makes reference to marriage or spouse to limit its applicability to opposite-sex couples, is no more.
What does this decision mean for the state of marriage equality in America today?
The consequences for same-sex couples across the country are just huge. So you have binational same-sex couples who have been in immigration limbo for many, many years, some of them validly married in the states in which they reside, but unable to apply for status changes for their spouses. So that is, I think, a huge and immediate impact of the decision today. But everything from Social Security benefits to federal health benefits to tax benefits of the sort that Edie Windsor is now entitled to will be changed. As Justice Kennedy says, there are also certain obligations that come from marriage, and same-sex couples married in states that recognize their marriages want the benefits and are perfectly happy to incur the obligations of marriage. So, for example, there are federal conflict of interest laws. If you're a federal employee, you can't participate in any decision that might have some bearing on your financial interest, nor your spouse's financial interest. So until today, same-sex couples did not sort of bear the burden of that disclosure and conflict of interest law, and now they do.
What does this decision say about Justice Kennedy's thinking?
This was brought primarily as an equal protection challenge. There is a lot of language about equality and liberty as guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. So I would say that is sort of the primary theory on which the decision is based. But there's a lot in there also about state sovereignty and the sort of undermining of the power of the states to define marriage that DOMA represents by essentially creating two categories of marriage within the states that did permit same-sex marriage: kind of full marriage, individuals who were opposite-sex couples married under state law entitled to sort of the broad array of rights and benefits and obligations that marriage confers under both state and federal law, and then same-sex couples who are treated as fully married for certain state law purposes, but treated as unmarried for federal law purposes.
So Edie Windsor fought this case to get her money from her partner, her inheritance. What does this mean today for Edie Windsor?
It's obviously a wonderful day for Edie Windsor. It means she will get her $363,000 federal tax refund to which she's been entitled and to which the courts have ordered her to receive since very early on in this litigation. She won in the district court, she won in the Court of Appeals, and now she's won finally in the Supreme Court. I suspect for her, though, what's much more important is that she now, forever, her name and her case will be associated with sort of the most important constitutional decisions, kind of expanding the reach of the equality guarantees of the Constitution. So this Windsor will be the name of this case sort of forever. And it's a kind of immortality that I think that confers that I suspect is probably as important, if not more important to her than the tax refund to which she is very much entitled.
The decision in the Prop 8 case came down in a split that's very unusual on the court. Explain that.
The Prop 8 case, the opinion in the Prop 8 case is a heavily procedural opinion. A 5-justice majority, and not the usual 5 suspects. It was the Chief Justice and then Justice Scalia and then 3 of the more liberal-leaning justices believed that the court did not have the power to decide the case. The dissent was Justice Kennedy, Justice Sotomayor, and then Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, so 2 of the more conservative justices. So it scrambled the usual sort of ideological affiliations or alignments on the court. What the 5-justice majority believed was that it did not have the power to hear the case because the state officials who ordinarily defend state laws when they're challenged on constitutional grounds decided not to defend Prop 8. So the Attorney General decided very early on in the litigation he believed Prop 8 was unconstitutional, he would not defend it, and the sponsors of Prop 8, which was a ballot initiative, intervened and defended the law in the District Court, the Court of Appeals, and before the Supreme Court. And the 5-justice majority believed that those sponsors of the ballot initiative did not have the authority to represent the interests of the state of California before the court, and the court was thus without any power to decide the case. What this means is that no decision on the merits on the question of the constitutionality was issued by the Supreme Court, and the Ninth Circuit opinion, which had struck down Prop 8 on constitutional grounds, was also vacated by the Supreme Court. So all that stands is the District Court opinion. The District Court held a full trial, decided, wrote a very long opinion, holding Prop 8 unconstitutional on federal constitutional grounds.
Taken together, what do these two decisions mean for marriage equality in America?
Well, it's a big day. It's definitely a good day. I think that is the most important thing to start with. I think people were very hopeful, and that hope has been very much vindicated with the Windsor decision. And the result, although it's sort of not exactly the result that the sort of advocates were hoping for in the Prop 8 case, does have the effect, it appears, of reinstituting same-sex marriage in California. So that's actually a very happy outcome as well.